Welcome and thanks for listening to Beer in Hand podcast, brought to you by Michigan Brewery Review. Today I'm talking with Matt and Oliver from Five Shores Brewing in Beulah, Michigan. Cheers. All right, welcome back. I'm here with Matt and Oliver. They are the co-owners of Five Shores Brewing, which is located in Beulah, Michigan. If you're not familiar with Beulah, it's about 25 miles or 25 minutes west of Traverse City, almost to Frankfurt.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. I always like to start you guys kind of how you met and the origin of how a brewery gets started, especially when you guys didn't grow up knowing each other. If I did some background and I read that you guys, is it true that you met at a MSU U of M game?
We did.
Yeah, Oliver, do you want to start off telling the love story?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah. So I mean, just speeding up to the tailgate day, my daughter had moved up to Leelanau County with her mom and stepdad and her half sister, and there was something that they wanted to do for a while, and I'd been, in Ann Arbor for 15 years after moving back, and I said, okay, came up and visited. It was like, wow, I really like it up here. I'm gonna move up there, just, obviously to be closer to my daughter.
Right.
And so that was kind of my plan in my head the whole time. And then we had like a big high school buddy reunion for the MSU Michigan State game. And my friend Jeff, who is Matt's brother-in-law, we were doing our tailgate hopping, and we ended up at Matt's tailgate. And we got to talking, and Matt, that's where
and I'll pause it and interrupt right there just to give the background on my side. Wolverine, I actually had Wolverine Lager before it was a brewery. I think they crashed the Michigan Beer Fest and just showed up. Like Wolverine showed up with T-shirts and a cooler and was just handing out T-shirts and a cooler at a summer beer fest prior to it being a thing. Before Oliver. Actually, hold on. I forgot that I left this background on from earlier. Sorry about that, guys.
Oh, don't worry about it, man.
I like it.
No. You like it? Well, here, let's get something more topical. Oliver and I are pouring a beer.
There we go.
Right there. So I'd had Wolverine beer a long time, joined as a member a long time before. 5 years before Oliver and I met, my sister decided to start making out with his high school friend, Jeff. They eventually got married.
Well, and if I can interject, you're talking about Wolverine because that's where Oliver was brewing for the past 10 years, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I started with Wolverine in 2009 as kind of a consultant, and then stayed on to open the brewery and build it out, and was a franchise player until I met this guy.
So go ahead. Sorry to interrupt, Matt.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So Jeff actually runs a company called Sporkle Trivia. He does a lot of the main stuff at Sporkle, and they're at a ton of breweries. And so I knew Wolverine before that. I had ended up going to trivia there a ton. I've actually hosted trivia there before, done work with Wolverine. But I'd go in there at 5 o'clock, and Oliver, was working 7 a.m. till 4 p.m. and taking off to not have to talk to people who are like, hey, what's up, Oliver? Tell me about your beer. So we'd never met out of 10 years of me being back and forth to Wolverine. And so fast forward to this tailgate, he shows up with my brother-in-law, and Oliver, take over for a second, I guess.
Yeah, well, so I was actually talking to another friend about, moving up north and starting a brewery, and I had met Matt in this, group of guys who've been drinking all day. But then Matt starts handing me all these crazy beers from all over the place. He's like, you gotta try this, you gotta try this. And
have you had Treehouse? Have you had Trillium?
Yeah, Treehouse.
The home stuff.
Against the Grain. I don't think there's a Prairie I don't think you have any Prairie at that one, but so Matt, I'm talking to this other friend about starting a brewery up north, and Matt just kind of flicks out his business card and he's like, let's talk about a brewery. And I think we had a mandate less than 2 weeks later.
Really?
I think it was less than you're being modest, man. I think you called me back. I think you slid into my DMs that day.
Yeah. I actually left my friends and came back and just was standing around watching Matt from a distance.
So was getting back to Beulah, was that the number one goal? I mean, did you guys know that was the place where this brewery was going to open, or were you looking?
Not at all.
You were looking for a building first that may be able to house a brewery?
Honestly, I think we spent more, the first 3 months were all about the brand and all about the idea and what we wanted it to be. We just knew it was going to be up north. And Matt, luckily, was like, I love up north. I went to Northern, and, that gives me a reason to be up there more.
Sure.
So, yeah, we spent a lot of time just getting to know each other and talking about business and what we wanted it to be based on Matt's, like, being a big, huge beer fan, and me learning from all the mistakes I made at other breweries and figure out what we could do better. Then I think we decided on, like, let's start looking for locations.
And the building, I mean, I think, whatever reason you decided on this building, whatever it was before, and I did some research on that too, but you guys can kind of fill in the blanks. I just thought it was, walking in for the first time, I love the open atmosphere, the huge ceilings, the big open kind of community type feel. I just think it's an amazing, when people go there, they'll realize what I'm talking about. But when you walked in, what did it look like compared to what it looks like now?
Yeah, I can't tell you like how incredibly lucky we are to sort of have stumbled upon the building that we found. So to give some backstory, Oliver and I did sort of an exploratory trip. Like, was that December 2018?
It was January.
January 2019.
No.
Who knows? I don't know. I don't even know if it's Tuesday or Wednesday right now.
You got it. It is Tuesday. Nailed it.
What day is it? October?
Yeah.
That's from Billy Madison. I won't tell you what day they figure it out is, but the penguin shows up for the first time in that scene. So we got really lucky. So we went around driving around. We met some different brewery owners. We met Matt over at Lake Ann Brewing, who is awesome, great guy.
Love that place.
Oh, for sure. And we went into, like, he's one of the funniest people I know. Some of our texts back and forth, we can't read them right now on the air.
Just watching his live videos over the last 5 or 6 weeks have been pretty good.
Yeah, he's awesome. So we went there. We went to Stormcloud. We went into Stormcloud, and Rick from Stormcloud was in there. And Oliver said hi, and people know who Oliver is just because he's been brewing good beer for a long time. And Rick invited us into the back to just have a beer, and we were talking by the brewing equipment, and Rick was like, hey, we're almost done with our new production facility. And I just said, what are you doing with this? And they basically said, I don't know.
He means this.
That 10-barrel system, correct? That you got from them?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, Rick, whatever you decide to do with it, if you're going to sell it, talk to us first, because we'd love to keep it local. And they bought it used. So this is a sort of an equipment system that's been passed down from a couple breweries at least. Nice system, been around for a while. And we looked at a bunch of different properties that weekend. There are other places that we strongly considered, but it's funny, Rick actually mentioned this place to us, and I had already sent Oliver a link, but he kind of said like, not for me.
Well, I drove through, so we had actually put an offer on another property, and then someone else put a better offer, and we were looking at another really cool property up off M22 between Leland and Glen Arbor. Actually, that was actually in the national park, but it was just too much in the middle of nowhere, like too much thing to have to like turn into a brewery that had zero infrastructure, like no plumbing, no it was just a really cool location.
Just a big undertaking.
Yeah, it just wasn't gonna work. But I still drive by that place and pictures of the brewery sometimes. And when I was up here, talk over at Stormcloud before we purchased the system, kind of running through it with Brian Comfort from Stormcloud and seeing, how's it work and making sure, it's what I want and what we wanted. Matt was like, go check out this building. And I drove through Beulah in the middle of winter, and it was just dead. There's nothing going on. And so I was like, yeah, no, I don't think so. And then I came back up late Memorial Day weekend to decommission the system at Stormcloud. And Matt, I drove over this hill coming from Traverse City to Frankfurt, and the lake was thawed and it was sunny. And I drove through Beulah and called Matt, and he was like, I told you so.
Yeah.
And that was
amazing.
That was kind of it.
A little backstory. I mean, I have an ex-wife who was from the Traverse area originally, and her family used to be jewelry makers. And one of their biggest, they used to do art fairs, and one of the biggest ones was right on the shore downtown Beulah. And so this was 25 years ago, and I used to go every summer. And I mean, with Crystal Lake there and just the downtown and the people in general, it's such a great little community. I fell in love with it a long, long time ago. So when I heard a brewery was opening up, I was like, yeah, this place is going to work. Not only because of the people, but I mean, it's a perfect location because you do get the people leaving and coming and going from Traverse, but then the whole, I mean, you're so close to the best coast of Michigan, and it's all right there.
I mean,
I threw a new background.
I saw that
on right here just to
I
give
took
people
that picture.
yeah, he took that picture, man. Just to give people an idea, this building, like, so I looked at the picture and just thought, there's a shell, right? Like it's a brick building with a metal roof, and like whatever we can try and do inside would be incredible. But like Oliver's right. Beulah has been a village that has been completely overlooked for way too long. And Crystal Lake's, in my opinion, the prettiest lake in Michigan. I mean, people can argue for Torch or any of the other lakes they want to argue for, but I think Crystal Lake is absolutely gorgeous. And the building, you can see the front of Crystal Lake out of the front of the building.
Yeah.
We're at the end of the village, which has bars, restaurants, tons of stuff to do. The beach, like, what I'm most looking forward to, and this is our first summer in business, and who knows if we'll be able to use it, but like my kids, you know, like being like, hey, Dad's pouring beers right now, go to the beach. And it's literally a block away.
Oh, it's super walkable. I mean, literally, it couldn't take more than 30 seconds to walk from your front door to the edge of the lake. It's that close.
No, and I mean, I think we both felt a little bit like, we started doing the market research on like Benzie County and being like, there's Lake Ann, there's St. Ambrose, there's Stormcloud. I mean, Ironfish isn't in Benzie County, but it's like right on.
Part of their farm borders Benzie County, so they are.
There you go.
Benzie County.
There you go. It borders it. So you have this like crazy little microclimate of like really good craft alcoholic beverage makers that are just like big, strong brands with all different like personalities, and we're like, well, we want to be friends with them.
I definitely want to touch on that, and I'll get to it now. Before, the thing I do, traveling the state and going to as many breweries as I can, I like to, before I go, to put a tour together and just like staying in the county itself. Like you mentioned, it's you guys, it's Stormcloud, which is 8 miles away. I think your closest would be St. Ambrose, and then maybe 15, 20 miles away, if that would be Lake Ann, which is one of the most underrated, to me, breweries in northern Michigan. I mean, walking in there, it's such a great feel.
Well, it's that place is awesome because it's like Cheers, Yeah. It's like you want to go where everybody knows your name, or
you walk in and everyone turns and looks at you like, who's this? It's like, who's this newbie?
So the funny story, when I was there the first time, there's a church right next door, and they were doing some type of, I don't know, it was a chicken cookout, but it was fried chicken and corn on the cob and all these different sides. And I'm sitting at the bar, and I don't know anybody, and I don't know if it was the brewer, it might have been the owner at the time. And he's like, hey, can I get you anything from next door? And he goes, I'm like, no, I'm good. And he goes, no, seriously, it's like, it's on me. And I was like, sure. So he brought me back this full, slab of 2 pieces of chicken with, it was just like, who buys a full meal for someone that's just sitting at their bar that they don't know? And I was like, man, I love this place. It had
that was
nothing.
Probably Matt. That sounds like Matt. He wants some chicken. My wife said I couldn't have it, but if we eat it together, I'll eat some.
So yeah, you can put like just where you're at, just like the coolest little, you can expand it out besides 4 stops, but close to you, you can put a little brewery just in the county itself, a little brewery tour together, including you guys, and have a great time because every one of those breweries are great.
Well, Kevin, what I would say to like all of that, and thanks for including us in the compliment. The building itself, like it's this metal round roof building. And so it was Kinney's Auto Service before that. It was an Olds dealer in the 50s. This building, and people look at this as like a cornerstone building in the community, but it's also been empty for 35 years. And so I can't tell you how many times, and honestly got a little annoying, and we've told people this, so this is not new, but like how many times during construction, like I'm up on a 10-foot ladder with a sledgehammer knocking out a concrete block wall, and somebody like sneaks up underneath. What are you doing up there? I'm like swinging a sledgehammer at a 14-foot wall.
So I got a question.
Oliver could tell you more. Just, I mean, the community's rallying around this building is like pretty nuts.
So that's what you guys are going to do. I mean, you're going to become, and I think, Cranes Detroit put out an article probably about 9 months ago, but more breweries that are opening up now, there's so few shelf space out there. Everything that's opening up is going to be more community based. And you guys said, I think Matt, you said in the video on your website that if you want our beer, we're not going to be in the grocery stores. You're going to have to come sit here and talk to us and drink our beer, and we're happy with that. And you'll have one with them. But you don't have plans for distribution. You want to kind of just fill your seats inside of the building for people to have your beer.
Oliver, do you want to speak to that? Like, or currently, because currently and long term are sort of different with what we're going through.
Yeah, well, I was just reading California's restaurant reopening, and they're pushing outdoor seating. We got a bunch of outdoor places to sit, but Michigan's not quite there yet.
Well, this is all once everything starts back.
Yes.
That's what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
Opens back up.
I think running a distribution brewery for 10 years, where it started off mostly in the tap room and then became heavily, a lot of the volume was distribution, which is a really fun brewery to work at, because you're just constantly making beer and there's more fun toys to play with. But I think for a while now the sea change has been towards the brew pub model from a microbrewery's perspective. So yes, being able to spend more on ingredients, worry less about your margins, innovate, and be able to have that face time with people and just be able to crank out new stuff and not have to worry about chasing it with marketing and advertising and all those spends that you need. So, the way I build out this brewery is so simple that it's like a giant homebrew system.
Okay.
And that's been fun just to be able to focus on just every little process rather than worrying about making sure we got enough kegs in to fill to hit the bars. And
right.
And we don't have room. The building is not built to be a production brewery with distribution capabilities. So
let's touch on your most important product then, the beer itself.
I need another one.
Go grab one.
I'll start. He'll come back in.
Okay. So Oliver was talking in the video that I was watching. You guys, like a lot of other Michigan breweries, you're trying to get as many of your ingredients from local places or Michigan-based farms. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. Okay. So one of the coolest things is one of our favorite vendors is M.B.R Malt. So they're in Empire, which is 15 minutes north of us.
Right.
And I think it's the only. I think Allison is the only maltstress, and I'm going to call her a malter just because, whatever the term is. But I think she's the only female in Michigan producing malt. She's stronger than me. She's tougher than me, but she's 8 inches shorter. She's awesome. And the grain she's producing is the highest quality because she absolutely cares about it. And so it's really fun. All five were one of our first IPAs, and that's a 5-ingredient Michigan IPA. Hops were both locally.
Yeah, it was just Pilsner malt, oat malt, and 3 different kinds of Michigan-grown hops. So.
And which beer was that for?
All five.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of our flagship IPA.
Yeah, and her Allison's process is really cool. She actually has a 90-year-old mill that she got from Amish country in Indiana that she had rebuilt, and so Empire's 15 miles away, and she's growing malt on the land there. My local hops their hops are Traverse City area, so they're local. So almost all of those ingredients were grown within 30 miles of where we are. And honestly, I don't know. I think a lot of Michigan breweries can claim that it's a Michigan beer, but I don't think a lot of them can claim that whole beer was produced within that tight of a radius of their brewery. And that's really cool. It's not bragging. It's just neat to be able to not only that, there's a lot of current research that eating and drinking things that are local are better for you. but it's also supporting your local community, and we try to do that with our wines and ciders and meads and everything else we do. If there's money to go into somebody's pocket, we hope that it goes to someone we know and that we trust.
And Oliver, you, coming from Wolverine, and which it was. I mean, I know it started at that. When you left, was it still 100% just lagers?
I mean, we always played around in the beginning with like some mixed culture beers, like doing some Belgian yeast with lager yeast. But yeah, by the time when I left, we were still knocking out. I mean, just all lagers. Alexis Jorgensen that took over, who had been at like Stone and I forget the brewery in Chicago she worked for, and Witch's Hat. She did some cool beers after I left that I assume were lager based, but I think it's that was a tough job to stay innovative with lager yeast. But
well, the reason I asked, because I've had 5 of your beers, and I'll run through them real quick. But my favorite was the Benzie Original. I really liked that when I was in. I had the Precious Cargo with the guava and strawberry. I picked up when you guys were doing curbside, I picked up the Boomtown, and then the Running Circles New England style. I had the Local Legend.
If I crack one of these, my wife, Running Circles, it's the background's messed up, 9.3% double New England. If I crack that right now, my wife's going to put me to bed early tonight. She'd be like, you're going to sleep, night.
I enjoyed it, but the Benzie Original, I mean, it was just so clean, and the flavor was, I mean, it blew me away. I really enjoyed that beer, and that's when I was in the first time, so that would have been, I think, the first weekend in February when I stopped in, so it was probably about a week or two after you opened up.
Well, that was something Matt and I, we were always like, well, I'm going to make some lagers because that's kind of what I'm known for, and I can make a lager in my sleep for the most part. So, but different yeast, like different ingredients, like there's definitely like starting from scratch here to figure out like my new kind of identity, the beers we want to make. But yeah, I mean, be able to knock out lagers, and we actually had a customer that early, like when we did a sneak peek, that he lives in Ann Arbor, like his wife lived in Ann Arbor for a long time, and he like pointed out, he's like, I know these beers. I can tell these beers. And he's like, did you work at Wolverine? Like, that was pretty cool to have someone pick out some beers that were brewed on like our pilot system at my house.
Right.
And say like,
literally like on a 10-gallon homebrew system to be able to say that's Wolverine stuff. And not to knock, I love Wolverine. I was a member there. Oliver's a brewer there. This is not a knock on them at all. And I'll give a different opinion as somebody who didn't work there than Oliver. I think what we want to do is take the crispness and the cleanness of that style. But to be able to take some of the stuff, a lot of breweries in Michigan, I feel like, are trying to do big hazy IPAs.
Yeah.
They're just muddled. And so I think you can do a really clean, and this is not, I like every beer. So like, I'm the worst guy to critique beer because I'm like, it tastes good. I'd like another one. But what we're trying to do is to take a style and be able to do a very pure version of the style of beer that we're doing. We're not going to do everything. There's styles of beer we don't like. And there's also style of beer that like are being done in Benzie County. So we're not going to do Belgian beer. Stormcloud does a good job.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
We're just not going to do it. So what I think we're trying to do with our styles is to do what we want to drink. I mean, we both really like double IPAs. We like bigger stouts. There's a lot of the different things we like, but to be able to take those and say, hey, we don't have to put this out in a huge quantity. We can do 5 barrels of this. And if it's like not the best thing we've ever made, it's still really good. Or if it is the best thing we've ever made, do another 5 barrels or another 10 barrels. But like, we're not beholden to what the grocery store is ordering.
Sure.
And that's sort of the mantra behind it is if neither of us like it, we're not going to pour it.
And I had the same approach at Wolverine, where the beer list was always like a balance, like where there's something that anyone can get into. And we wanted to do that here, but I also wanted to make sure I was like be able to kind of go to some extremes. And also
Hey,
just
Oliver,
be like,
I'm gonna crack a define normal right here. Actually,
Great.
there we go. Define normal. You talk about define normal a little bit. I mean, I think that's a good
yeah.
example.
So like define normal, although it's a 10-gallon batch. So Rhonda and Ken Nye, who Ken owns like a heating and plumbing business here, and his wife Rhonda is the county commissioner for Benzie. I met Ken because I was looking for some plumbing advice, and we become friends. And he was like, "Hey, you want to come out and get some maple syrup? I also have some maple sap. Like, if you can just use that." So I went over to his place and went out in the woods with him and collected a bunch of sap. So I mean, you can use maple sap as just a base, as like water for beer. It's got a little bit of sugar, not flavor. It's just a cool kind of foraging thing to use.
Is it super thin?
Yeah, I mean, it has you can tell it's thicker than water. I also had to like filter out like tree bark and like leaves from those stuff because it was just out in the woods in buckets. So it's a base of like maple sap and then Michigan hops, and then added with some blueberry juice.
Okay.
Just straight organic blueberry juice during fermentation, and then a little bit post. So I don't know. It's just a really interesting, fun beer. I actually reached out to the company that makes the blueberry juice. They haven't responded to my emails, so I don't know if I can get big quantities of it. But yeah, it's stuff like that. Like, I mean, fruited beers are always fun. It's balancing the fruit.
So when you say that, is your Precious Cargo, did I read that, or did I might have heard, is that going to be like a series you guys are doing with different type of flavors?
Yeah, so I think just finding like, it's one of those things where give it a name, and then whatever, it's always going to be in the fruited IPA category. But that leaves like tons of room to play around with like the base recipe and then what kind of different fruits. And
the idea was like fruit gets shipped in, right? Like that's Precious Cargo, right? We're not, I mean, so a couple times a year we'll be able to use fresh fruit from our area, but the rest of the year we're like paying a boatload of money, to get.
I work blue, so go ahead and drop whatever word you want to.
Yeah, sorry about that. I know we're on the air. Are we doing it live?
No, we're not.
Okay, I gotta go put some yeast nutrients in the brew kettle.
What are yeast nutrients?
Nutrients for yeast.
What are they?
So we're actually watching someone go work a beer that's boiling right now. So Oliver was telling me that I was asking him what the volcano was, and he said he was boiling some beer, and he was going to have to leave in about 25 minutes, but he'd be right back. So we're watching somebody work.
Yeah. So I mean, I can describe our brew system real quick if people are interested. So that little blue dot in the corner, the square dot with the stickers on it, the brewery stickers, that's our boiler, right? So right next to that, you see the ERTUN, the lauter tun. That's a mash tun. So the mash tun is where we mash in our grain. And when you're mashing the grain, you're essentially taking grain and making sugar water out of it. You're making tea. So you're trying to extract as much sugar out of the mash as possible. So you're putting in all of your barley, anything you're putting in to pull that out, right? So your grain is all going in there, pulling that out. And it's what you're doing with warmer water is actually taking the complex sugar that's in all of that in your grain, like in your malt, in your barley, and you're making that simple sugar. Okay. And you're pulling that out, and the simple sugar then goes into where Oliver is right now. He's at the boiler. So the big steam coming out, that's because that's all boiling in there. So that all gets pumped into the boiler, and it boils at that point. And if you want a real bitter beer, like if you want a 120-minute IPA, the 120 or the 90, you're basically boiling hops in there to get more bitterness out of the hops. I don't know what we're making right now. Oliver will tell us, but like where he was just right now is the boiler.
Okay.
Once everything is boiled down at that point, it gets put to the fermenters, cooled down, yeast goes into it. Yeast eats the simple sugars. It poops out all the junk that floats to the bottom. It pees out alcohol. Oliver you can't hear us. Oliver is not pretty. He can't hear us right now. His beard, he needs a quarantine beard trim. He's normally prettier than this. Sorry, guys. Can you hear us, Ollie?
Yeah, I can hear you. My J-Labs are getting old, so the battery died.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
So I'm giving him a quick
Yeah.
what's going on, where you're at. So what are you brewing? What are we making today?
What's that?
What are we making?
We are making a new IPA, unnamed. Matt and I kind of collaborate on all the names just to make sure we both love it. And so I don't want to divulge too much about it. I was telling Kevin before we started recording, this is kind of something I've been wanting to do for a while, but it's Empire malt, some oats, some unmalted wheat, some malted wheat, a little bit of rice, and then I'm using some Norwegian yeast, and I'm brewing it late because I got to come in early in the morning and start dry hopping it. I'm going to spend some time tomorrow kind of dry hopping it throughout the day. So we'll see. I'm excited just because it's a new.
Gonna dry hop at least like most of a day to a full cycle of the clock.
Well, I was here for 32 hours the other day. I did a 24-hour boil. So I came in and dove in at 10 o'clock and then left at 9.
Different beer. That's a different beer.
A different beer that's, yeah. So, the schedule doesn't need to be a schedule anymore. I can come in whenever I want. So.
And also, you've got like 8 taps. There's nobody around, and you've got 8 taps. I can't tell you how jealous I am that I'm freaking downstate right now. And even though there's work to do there, you're like, yeah, well, I got like 8 beers where I can just be like, no.
Yes, I do have that ability.
That makes me jealous too.
Kevin, come up.
Yeah, but I also am like, I want to drink some new beers, so it's this
what's
is
your
kind
idea
of that too.
What's your idea for it? Go ahead.
That?
I mean, what's the idea for it? You can share the idea. It's not.
Oh, so it's kind of like it's a continuously dry hopped beer, like based on the full amount. So think like 120-minute IPA, but dry hops
instead of boil hops.
So there's literally 0 hops in the boil. It's all going to the dry hop. So as soon as fermentation starts, I'll be here to measure out, and I have the whole hop program throughout. All using 5 different hops, all pretty fruity with a little bit of pine ones dropped in there. But yeah, it's just going to be like a whole 8 hours of kind of consistently dry hopping certain amounts every 15 minutes or so. Then probably with like a big dry hop charge like before we package it. But I'm hoping to have this beer ready for next weekend, which is a pretty quick turnaround. But using Norwegian yeast, if you spend a lot of time here, you can treat your beer nice and get it ready to go. So
when you guys, if I read right, on the 18th, you're going to be opening for 5 days a week for curbside.
Correct.
Yeah, so we're gonna do limited hours, but 5 days a week. There's a couple things, like we had food that people really liked.
The chili.
The chili. Oh, yeah, the cactus. Do you have the cactus chili? The hard part is we're not in a spot where there's a big enough population center to really be a restaurant, and there are also other restaurants in our area that we don't want to detract from. I mean,
sure.
Roadhouse, Lucky Dog down the street. There are good restaurants. Obviously, Birch and Maple over in Frankfurt. Places that like I want people to support because we really care about the people that work there and the owners. We make really good sandwiches, but like make your sandwiches at home. It's not.
Right.
We don't make enough money on it, and it's just not. It's not worth like pulling business from other people. Beer wise, what we're going to do is, cans and growlers to go. We appreciate people ordering the day before, but we will do walk-ups as well. We have a little tabletop canner that we can can.
No, when I was in, I forgot what day it was, but it was after the shutdown, and it was I was already outside, and I called in. I think I got 2 or 3 16-ounce cans, and they were in my car. I mean, I didn't have to go in. Obviously, I stayed in my car, and they were carried out to me within 7 minutes. I mean, I didn't order, like, it wasn't a huge order, but it was super convenient and right there. So, I mean,
Yeah, and our population obviously grows this time of year and through the summer. So our goal is to be able to do this like 5 days a week through the whole summer. Hopefully we'll be able to serve people beer on site sooner than that, but that's not really in our control. So what we can control is that we're going to do, you know, fun beers, the ones that people want to drink, and have them come around. But we also have, Oliver was talking about like being there overnight for 24 hours the other day. Like we have some fun long-term stuff kind of in the
well, that's what I want to touch base on. I know we talked before we started recording about the hibernation series you guys are going to be doing with your stouts.
Yeah, I gotta go turn off the boil and start the whirlpool. So Matt can talk about hibernated. I did, just so you know, I did sleep with my daughter's frozen blanket here that night when I was here because I had to bring all the blankets because I slept on our concrete floor.
Nice.
It's a very soft blanket. So, yeah.
There's enough beer, and there's enough beer there still to make it happen. I mean, we had enough beer for a few months, and then people stopped showing up by no control of our own. But yeah, so hibernate is going to be actually sort of a fun thing, Kevin, that we're going to do. People love barrel-aged beers. I mean, I think for good reason. There's a lot to like. So hibernate will be our series of ongoing annual barrel-aged beers, and we're going to do them during the winter when not as many people are around.
Sure.
In order to sort of, it's a fun project to do during the colder months. But what we decided to do this year is for the first go around to do 100, basically 100 spots, and we've sold 40 of them so far. And hibernated was, Oliver just brewed it, 24-hour boil. So people are like looking at like, oh, we boiled for 6 hours or 8 hours. 24-hour boil, big beer. I mean, I think it would be shocking if it doesn't hit 12% plus. Okay. I would think after the barrels, you're looking at like at least 14 or 15%. The membership's on the website, but it's a 3-bottle variant plus a release party. So we're going to do 3 release parties. We're going to do Metro Detroit. We'll probably be at my house, to be honest.
Nice.
The Chicago party and the Grand Rapids party. So like if people are throughout the state, it doesn't have to be just Detroit. And what that'll come with is all 3 beers. So like we're not going to make more than 100 bottles of each, and you'll get the base beer, which is just, an awesome stout. Plus you'll get to choose as part of a vote with the other hibernated members what are going into the other 2 bottles. So, if you like macadamia nuts and cashews, you could vote for that. If you like pretzels and marshmallows, you could vote for another one. So the 2 variants will be decided by the people that are voting for them. And going forward, I mean, our hope is that the next year we do a larger thing, but the people that buy in the first year will be the people that ongoing get a say of, a bigger say in what's going to go into those bottles. So we have 3 rye whiskey barrels right now kind of sitting from Ironfish. Ironfish Distilling, 20 minutes from us, gave us those barrels as an opening gift.
Yeah, so, Sarah Anderson, who's one of the owners, showed up, text me like, hey, I got some whiskey barrels as a welcome to Benzie present. So
yeah, and so that was their first rye whiskey too. So it's their version 1 rye whiskey. It'll be our version 1 of hibernated. And so we're going to take those 3 barrels and do 1 base barrel, 2 variant barrels, and sort of roll those out as, if you want it. I mean, 100 spots, and it's $175 for those 3 barrels or those 3 bottles, but also the party. And also Oliver and I coming, we won't make you crack your bottle at the party either. If you're coming to the party, you can walk away with your full bottles. Sure. We'll bring that. We'll bring some other stuff.
Well, and I brewed a little extra, so I need another barrel. So,
yeah. Shh. That's Matt's share. Jim Beam's got the devil's share. It's like, save that barrel for Matt.
So that's available online right now to buy into, correct?
Yeah, exactly. It's just in the store on the website. But I'm a big, actually one of the problems with this quarantine is that I started drinking through my barrel-aged share the first month or so, and
Oh man, I don't have many beers left.
no, and
No.
I was drinking through like my barrel aged stuff too.
Yeah.
It's like might as well have like you know, a couple of these tonight. Like, oh, tomorrow I'll have this. You got to exercise a lot to drink.
You do.
that, you know, that's the problem, and I didn't. Gonna be honest.
Oh, I put on, you know, they're calling it the quarantine 15 or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I'm definitely. I hear people losing weight during this. I don't know how they're doing it, but it's probably me burning through my whole beer selection. So I only have a few bomber bottles left.
No, man, it's so Kevin. I mean, I think what people will really enjoy about those beers, any other ones, is that like we're really not going to be on grocery store shelves. I mean, right now during the quarantine, we're probably going to try and partner on the like in late May or early June. If people still really can't travel much, we'll probably find some good bottle shops and places. Like I was at Cultivate earlier today, and I talked to Ryan over there in Ipsy, Cultivate in Ipsy, and they've got a great tap list.
Yeah.
Like that'll probably be a pickup spot for our next
Okay.
beer drop. Last time we did it at my house, and I just like, it was a lot of work, and Ryan's got a lot of good employees, and they buy a lot of good local craft beer. I actually picked up a speciation bottle and a couple other things there today while I was there, but
Nice.
we really care about if we're going to put beer somewhere, we want it to be a place that we want to be.
Yeah.
Our first go round of putting beer on tap was we had a collaboration with Earthen Ales that was over at Seven Monks in Grand Rapids. It was a great beer, and we were actually scheduled like April 15th to do a tap takeover at Grand Rapids 7 Monks. But if we're going to put a beer any place outside of our tap room, I know you said before, I said like, if you want a beer, come drink it here. That's sort of our mantra. The only place we'll ever deviate from that is a place that we want to have our beer, sort of. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
like
we're not going
Or
to.
a place that you want to drink at.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
people
if it's a place I want to drink, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's like the welcoming like wagon for up here in Northwest Michigan, like between the brewers, and was overwhelmingly like so positive and just made us feel so good. Not about being like, you know, outside interlopers, trying to.
Well, and we're gonna do funkier beers, Oliver. You know, we're gonna do like sort of. They're like
We're gonna brew
Lake
Flat
Ann-
Shores beers.
Yeah, we're gonna brew our beers. Like, I'll give you an example. Lake Ann stays in a particular beer lane because, like, that's what they love, and they've got a great following. That's what they love. Stormcloud sticks very, you know, in their Belgian lane, and that's what they want to do. We're going to do big IPAs we like. We're going to do crisp lagers we like because you can't drink 6 double IPAs, right? And we're also going to do some barrel-aged stouts, and we're going to do some sours. Like, we're going to have sort of a wide range because
Full spectrum.
I think, yeah, and that's, it's hard to say that because a lot of breweries try to go full spectrum and don't do it well. But I would, after meeting this guy at that tailgate, like, I've been liking, I started brewing, just to give you like a little deeper backstory. This guy started making beer when he was a freshman in college at Western. We're literally like 38 days apart age-wise. I started brewing beer when I was a freshman in college at Northern. To me, beer is only as good as what you put into it, the ingredients and the time you put into it. And for me, style is important only if you're not doing it well. And so what we want to do is a wide variety of styles that you know, we have a lot of people in Benzie County that have never had a craft beer before. And
Yeah.
and we love every, like, Benzie County has been so welcoming. I can't tell you, like, it brings tears to my eyes talking about.
Well, I know it does because I saw the video where you got emotional in it. That really was really cool actually, because you were talking about the support from the local community and how much it had touched you guys. So that was great to see. But speaking on that, your definition or description of local legends on your menu, it's for my dad when he comes in and says, "What do you guys got close to a Bud Light?"
That's Oliver's question right there.
Yeah. Well,
so that's the local legend. That's what I tell my dad. If I'm not with you, you look for something along those lines when you go into a craft bar, a craft brewery.
Yeah. No, and that's, I mean, Kevin, you can speak to it, but like the saddest part about all this is that like Matt and I put so much time into every detail about Five Shores, the building, and like our like outdoor space would be finished right now.
Yeah.
Like this place, Five Shores is all about like drinking within your community and like
Yeah.
getting people together. So I think the restaurant
And getting people together who don't like, you don't have to like craft beer. If you can swallow a beer, like if you're like, I don't really like beer, but like, here's the light beer I'll drink. Oliver is the best guy in the state for like I don't like craft beer, but I'll try it. And like, he won't say that, but I would never partner with anyone different, because what I do when I go to breweries, I drink the lightest beer first. And if I don't like the lightest beer, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to like the other
Well,
ones.
when I came to you guys, I jumped into my first beer was the Precious Cargo. I'm like, all right, I want to see how their sours or tart beers are, and then I'll go from there. So, I mean, I was blown away, and then I eventually got to the Benzie Original, which I loved. I loved all of them, but I kind of jumped. I'm a huge sour fan, so I'm like, all right, cool. I want to see what these guys are doing with the sour beers.
Well, that wasn't actually sour, but
not sour.
Part of the reason I chose the Bravo was to like bring out that sour tart note.
Yeah.
Just because like,
it wasn't sour.
We also want to.
It was
like we want to brew sours, but we're also not sure. Like talking to bar managers and people around here, they were like, the sour beers don't sell. Like so we're gonna we wanted to wait till we had like a bit more of a captive audience in the summertime to say, here's our sour. So like,
well, we pushed into the Precious Cargo because it had like sour notes from the strawberries and the guava. Like it had those notes, but it wasn't a sour, because this market up here in the north sort of, it's not here.
We love drinking beer. We want to make what we like, but also we want to make money, and I don't want taps to sit empty or like stagnant, because like,
no, I get it.
Yeah,
I mean you have to. I mean, your community, you've got to kind of. I mean, it's like any business. You're in a community. You got to kind of if you're making something, what's going to be consumed, whether it's food or beer in your case, by the people most of the people that you're attracting, which is.
Well, and the coolest thing, Kevin, to answer what people want is, our lifetime membership. Before we even opened, we had 500 people in the community. Like, but literally before we opened, we had 500 people who said, I want to do this. And
I want you guys to definitely
don't drink beer.
Delve into that a little bit more about. I mean, it wasn't. I'll be. I bought it yesterday, but my idea when I was in February, I was going to buy it then.
Oliver snuck off.
So go ahead, Matt. I want you to talk about your lifetime membership, and I'll just touch on it. To me, although Oliver told me that Grizzly Peak and Wolverine are kind of about the same, but it's a one-time fee. There's no annual fees. It's just a one-time $75 fee, and that gets you what?
Yeah, so it's $75 for a single and a membership, or $135 for a couple. But a couple is a beer couple, so it doesn't have to be like, it could be two of anybody. It could be father son, mother daughter, couple, partner, doesn't matter. And what that is basically a discount on every pour you ever have, a hat or a t-shirt, your first time in. Yeah, exactly. Got your hat on, which we appreciate. Growler discounts, to-go discounts, food discounts. I mean,
we started Member Mondays like a week before we had to shut down.
Yeah, we started Member Mondays. We were supposed to have trivia right before the shutdown too, but Oliver was going to have to host.
I was excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been hosting trivia since November. It's actually I was really nervous for my first time, but it's been a blast since I've been doing it. So.
It's fun. I used to host at a place in Rochester before it shut down, like 10 years ago. And
what was it called?
I love hosting trivia. It was maybe 8 years ago that it shut down, but it was it was very near BFD, and it was a burger place. And I'm trying to remember the name, but it was a burger and beer bar.
Oh, really?
And yep, and they had a big construction project for a year that killed them. So
Hmm.
I'll find out. I'll ask my brother-in-law Jeff from Sporkle to figure out what that was. So basically our membership, the whole thing with our membership is that we understand that we're in a spot where not everybody's going to come year round. Is number one. I mean, we're not in Ann Arbor or Metro Detroit where you're going to be there like multiple times a week for most people. But the other thing is, like, if you're going to come and drink a lot of beer, like, I don't really care if you have a discount. Like, good. Like, you save $1 a beer. Like, you're here all the time. We love it. Like, our locals who are around all the time and our regular drinkers are the people I miss most right now. I'm going to shout some of them out right now. Julie, good to see you. Bob, how's it going?
Actually, I was at the hardware store today getting some water softener salt, and Julie Bretsky, who she and her husband own the Nugent Ace Hardware in Benzonia. Great allies. She was wearing her 5 Shores shirt.
Nice.
Not even wearing an Ace Hardware shirt, just wearing 5 Shores. So.
No, there's so many of them, but so our discount is lifelong. Don't have to renew every year. You don't have to do anything. Like the discount is sort of, I want to be a part of this place. And to be honest, when you're just selling beer at your tap room, like that discount doesn't hurt us a ton financially. Like it's good to have you here. I mean, that's sort of what it is.
And not everybody, and I'm not tooting my own horn, but if I see I'm getting a discount, whether it's a membership or not, usually that's given back in gratuity. I mean, if I'm giving $3 or $4 off on beers, it's usually what I'm giving to my server or bartender at the same time. I mean,
yeah, man, that's been the hardest part.
I love to hear. I mean, that's, you know,
that's literally the hardest part of this is like our bartenders were before the shutdown of everything making, you know,
good money.
20 plus dollars an hour of tips because they did a good job. They know what they're doing. Like we have an awesome team. Like
you could tell. I could tell when I sat down that I don't know her name and I apologize, but she knew when it's funny when you sit down. Some place you sit, not every place, but you'll ask about a beer and you can tell maybe the person's new or not big into craft beer and they're just kind of there for the job. But the girl that was serving me at the bar, she knew about each beer I was asking about and what I was getting into. She didn't know that I travel from brewery to brewery. She knew nothing about me, but she was willing to sit there and really take time and discuss the beers with me.
Yeah, it's important to us, man.
Yeah.
Not everybody likes every beer, I mean, to be able to talk about a beer when you don't necessarily enjoy drinking that one, because there's beers on our menu where, I mean, trust me, I'll drink all of them.
We're in the same boat, man.
Yeah, but we when we got our staff in here and we started training them, we were like, it is all about the customer. That is our entire 5 Shores ethos is like, we want people to want to be here and we want them to be fans, not just customers. So, obviously if there's a line, let's go through it. Let's get people beers, but we want you to talk to as long as it takes to go through a beer and make that person understand what's in front of them. And,
But along with beers, you guys are also, is it ciders, wines, and specialty cocktails?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to crack our running circles, though, while we're here, because I got another one. That's all I have left right now.
9.3% New England Style IPA.
Yeah, so Sarah, sorry. My wife's back there somewhere downstairs. So what we actually, part of this is, my wife has celiac, right? So my wife, Sarah, who I just called out to, has celiac. She can't drink beer. And so as much as I love a lot of places like, Wolverine, places Oliver worked, other places, but I can't go to a brewery with my wife that just has beer because it's sort of boring on a date to be like, okay, we're going to have dinner, but now I'm going to watch Matt drink 3 beers and I'm going to drive him home, right? We got to be able to go to a place where she can have one and still drive me home, right? So part of the thing when Oliver and I first met, we just said, we need to have other options. And so mead and cider and wine and other things are a huge part of what we offer, because we're sort of, we feel like in Benzie County, there aren't a whole lot of come get all of this. And in most areas, there aren't a whole lot of that. But, Oliver can speak more to what we're trying to do as far as, most people coming in and enjoying it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think breweries are always about the beer, but Matt and I we needed it to be an all-inclusive place because of the seasonality and because of the, the needing to draw and making sure exactly what Matt said. Like, this person doesn't drink the beer, so give me the other thing. And a lot of breweries, opening with the same model we have or have opened, they realize that too. And, it's a lot more hoops to jump through and a lot more work and a lot more, making sure that, the focus is still on beer, but making sure that people know what else we have.
Yeah, I mean, our core competency is the beer.
Yeah.
Like that's what we do. That's what we do best. And the beer is why you should come here if you're a brewery fan. Everything else, we're not going to serve anything that we don't feel is excellent. Like that's sort of where we're at. If our wine's not good enough, or our cider or our mead's not good enough, we'll just cut it off. It's not worth selling. But we want like a full family experience. So like that sort of leaves out the fact that we're like kid friendly and all that. Like we're talking about how you can get drunk. Kids can't drink any of that stuff we're taking.
Oh, you can enjoy a beverage made for an adult.
Yeah, made for an adult. But I mean, really, we're trying to be able to not please everybody because you can't. I mean,
no, and no place can please everybody.
No.
Yeah, that's for sure.
No, but what we're trying to do is, at least with the other beverages, is to offer a very good alternative to beer for non-beer drinkers. And will that pour over some time to like a seltzer? Potentially, we can make those if we choose to. I don't drink them, but a lot of people do. And if we can make one that's really good,
I will say,
we're not going to do something we don't think is really good. That's sort of where, yeah.
I mean, I've never, ever had a hard seltzer, and I don't know. You'd have to really, I don't know, maybe have one of my family members as a hostage for me to drink a White Claw or something along those lines. But hey.
I've drank one because I'm like, my fridge is empty and this is all that's left. But like, and it's 2 a.m. and I feel like I need another. And I really don't.
You grabbed the wrong thing by mistake.
I need the wrong thing. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your guys' time. I won't keep you too long. So I want to just kind of go over. So it's 5 Shores in Beulah. If you're up there, summer, winter, spring, fall, whenever you're there, make sure. Yeah, exactly. Right near. I mean, if you're at if you're near Sleeping Bear, which attracts everybody year round, doesn't have to be just summer. You're not too far away from the Sleeping Bear Dunes at all. Got beers, ciders, craft cocktails, a small food menu, and I don't know, over your right shoulder, are you guys going to be opening that once everything is available for kind of a small beer garden? I know the property you bought.
We have like a very large beer garden over here, and we have behind us where that big tree is over my shoulder.
Yeah.
We have the potential for like a 3,000, maybe 1,000 person concert venue.
Oh wow.
And we're not going to launch that anytime soon right now. Sure. That probably won't happen this summer, but long term, our outdoor space is. There's a creek right there. If you kind of see the little bluff above the snow, there's a creek back there, which is beautiful. And we have 3 lots along that creek with the potential for a lot of outdoor space, including like kids play areas, venue for music. So
cool.
Whether we're allowed to or like can use that this summer, long term, I think it's going to be.
I think all bets are off right now, right?
Pretty unique spot, though. Pretty unique spot.
Do whatever you want to do. We'll talk about it later.
Is there anything that either one of you would like to add before we get out of here? I mean,
I think just, we're getting ready to start up with to-go beer again next week, 5 days a week. We were actually able to hire back one of our employees, my assistant brewer, to help. So that's like such a good step in the right direction. And, it's a new normal of to-go, but we're going to be setting up outside with like a tent and tables. So it's going to be online, phone in, and even walk up. We'll be taking growlers and, bring your clean growlers, and we'll have kind of a cleaning, sanitizing station for people to use that I can oversee to make sure people are cleaning the growlers properly, that we will refill. But, you know, the more people are coming to support Five Shores, we can keep cranking out new beers and keeping going so that summer has a little more variety, at least in terms of beer in Benzie County. So,
Okay.
Yeah, and as far as like variety of beer downstate, I talked to Ryan over at Cultivate today when I was picking up some stuff over there. We'd love to make that a local drop of beer that people aren't wanting to drive up north for. I mean,
I know you mentioned it earlier, but Cultivate's in Ypsilanti.
Yeah, Cultivate. If you just look it up, Cultivate is a coffee house / tap room. They're freaking awesome. I mean,
yeah, they're great.
I don't know their website, but we can drop it in whatever links we have.
Yeah, I can add them to when I post this. I'll go ahead and add them to it.
Yeah, just add them. They're awesome. But I mean, I went to buy some more coffee because I'm out today and picked up some beer there. But we're gonna anytime we have a new beer, we're gonna try and do a Metro Detroit release, and I think we're just gonna drop it from Cultivate and just. I mean, that's the hope, is just to say, hey, 30 minutes, 40 minutes for most people. Ypsi's a good spot. It's not real far from everywhere.
And online, besides Facebook, where can people find you guys?
Yeah, I mean, on Instagram, it's just at Five Shores, right, Oliver?
Yeah, just at Five Shores. Yep.
Yeah.
Five Shores.
We're so bad at this. We're like, yeah, FiveShoresBrewing.com is a good spot to be able to find what we have. As far as like, we can ship. There's a couple of cool things we did not mention.
Oh, go ahead.
We have the Penny Beer Club.
Yeah.
If you're local, it's $275 for the first year after we reopen for your first beer every day you come in.
Oh, wow.
So like literally for the first like if you came in every day we're open for the first year, you're paying $275 for 275 beers. I might buy one.
That's
right
a great
now.
deal. I mean, no, trust me, if I was closer, if I lived anywhere within a 10, 15-mile radius of you guys, I would, and I didn't have to be in every day, I would definitely take advantage of that.
No, I mean, we're selling like punch cards for cheaper beers. We're selling memberships. The membership, honestly, is a great deal. Even if you're like up north every year or two, we're not going anywhere. We're not like people are worried about us. We're not going out of business.
Well,
so,
that
like,
I mean,
spend money, but we're not. We're like we have a good business. We're not. We weren't stupid, but like
no, and that's where the lifetime membership comes in, because if you're up north and you plan on being up north for the next few years, even if it's 2 times a year, the membership pays for itself within probably the first year. All you got to do is stop in 2 or 3 times, and it pretty much pays for itself.
And if you have a designated driver, you could do it in one time if you want.
Yeah, that's true. You could do that.
I'll drive you home.
All right.
It's not a great idea.
No, you don't want.
Sarah,
no.
Hey, Sarah, can you drive? Sarah, can you drive him home?
I might take it.
Yeah, Sarah, you have get the van.
You can stay at my house. If you buy a membership tonight, you're staying at my house.
Oh, so this is gonna be posted on Wednesday the 13th.
The first 4 people that stay in the
All
studio
right,
get
so
to stay at my house. I'll leave my kids downstate.
I'm
First
gonna
4
add that
people
to the
that buy a
post.
membership. Yeah. First 4 people that buy a membership, we get a party with Oliver and I at our house. You can stay in my kids' bunk beds. They won't be there. And we'll get a driver to drop us off. Deal? Oliver?
Because Oliver wipes his face like, oh, fuck.
Well, I mean,
Kevin will come.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, 4 people, first 4 memberships off this post. And we have to figure out a way to track that. I got a bunk bed spot for you.
I'm going to post it tomorrow about 10 o'clock in the morning, which is May 13th. So then you can track after 10 o'clock the first 4 people. But you have to put in the note, because there's a note section for your membership, correct?
Yeah.
And they have to see that.
Kevin is awesome.
Yeah, they have that, and they have to say where they saw the post or where they're getting it from.
Yeah. They have to
All
write
right, cool.
Kevin, hashtag Kevin is awesome.
You know what I'm going to do?
Yeah.
I'm going to message 4 of my friends and say, hey, we got a private party to go to.
A private party. Oliver, we're going to have a party, bud.
We have a bulldozer. I mean, so the funny thing is,
we can drive a bulldozer.
Well,
we don't have. I
mean, getting a little more like TMI. So I had a hard time finding a place to live when I moved up here, and I found this house that was like being renovated to be rentals.
By the way, this running circles is making me drunk.
Yeah. And so I found this house and walked in to check it out. It was like subfloor, like no appliances, nothing. And the landlord was like, sign now or, you know, it's going to be gone. And I was like, perfect location, like, and they turned a house into a duplex. And then I called Matt. I was like, hey, we should get in on this thing together. So, you know, Matt and I like live together when he's up here. Separate entrances.
He's the
bed.
top, I'm the bottom. He's the top, I'm the bottom.
Same bed, separate entrances. You know,
separate entrances, different.
Separate. Oh yeah, same bed.
Okay.
No.
All right, guys. I really appreciate your time. This has been a lot of fun, for sure.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. It was good seeing you, man.
And you'll see me soon. I'll be, whether it's sitting down there or picking up a couple cans to go, you'll see me soon.
Sweet.
No,
Kevin,
Kevin,
thank you
it's
so
been
much.
awesome, man. Cheers.
Five Shores Brewing, Beulah, Michigan.